This is Bill Sang, the author of the Giganotus Rex series. You can find links to purchase the Giganotus Rex books at williamhsang.com, and Sang is Seng, or you can go to amazon.com. You can find books there. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Enjoy the show. The Wrath of Giganotus Rex by Bill Sang. Chapter 15. Footprints of the Beast. I went along with the villagers. They were able to track G-Rex because he departed from the city above ground. We followed his tracks through the wastelands of the countryside. Much of the continent that we lived on had been decimated. A long time ago, a war broke out between the people of our continent and the rest of the world. Not many details are known about who started the conflict, but what we do know is that we won at a great price. The rest of the world didn't fare so well. Our government, in a desperate move to ensure the survival of its people, chose to unleash its most powerful weaponry upon the oppressors. All of their enemies were destroyed. There may yet be some stragglers throughout the world who survived, but most of the land had become uninhabitable. Nonetheless, the villagers were well prepared. They knew how to grow, maintain, and locate food under harsh conditions. They had become physically and mentally tough because of their strenuous terms of life, which were defined by manual labor. As a result, they were ready for the journey ahead. They pursued the monster in hopes that it would keep them safe from the rulers. After we had traveled for several days, we came upon a crater where G-Rex had decided to burrow into the ground. When we came near to the cavern, we heard the sound of rushing water. It was a freshwater spring. We decided it was time to stock up on water and make camp. I was asleep in my tent before I was awakened by loud humming noises. When I opened my eyes, there were bright lights flashing and gusts of wind battering my tent. I ran outside and beheld the sight of harpies hovering above our camp. The 4 surviving Nephilim stood at attention as soldiers raided our area. A voice was projected through the camp. "You are in an unauthorized area. Villagers are not permitted to leave the boundaries of their community. Your camp will be taken into custody. Anyone who attempts to resist will be executed." The soldiers secured the area and turned their attention toward us. As they made contact with the villagers, they immediately started binding their hands and feet. Women and children began to cry, and men begged the soldiers to not separate them from their families. The soldiers did not remove us from where we were standing, and all of a sudden, they backed away. A bright glow lit up the sky. As it caught my attention, I realized that the harpies were readying their plasma cannons to fire. They were locked in on our camp. "Oh no," I said under my breath. Then I shouted to the villagers, "Get down!" People, paralyzed through their restraints, cried out in panic. One harpy unleashed a massive ball of plasma, directed to explode right in the middle of our gathering. It was as though the eerie glow moved in slow motion, but it was immediately extinguished by a colossal figure that interrupted its trajectory. He burst forth from the ground and raised his head into the night sky. G-Rex had taken the shot for the Orwellians. He intercepted the blast by absorbing the blow with his own body and swatted the harpy from the sky. It spun out of control away from the camp until it crashed in the desert. The harpies turned their attention toward G-Rex and started to launch their attack. 1 down, 6 to go. The Nephilim mobilized as the warriors retreated. The villagers and I quickly went to work on our restraints. When I got free, I immediately got busy with helping the others. Stephen directed us toward the cavern. G-Rex was already wounded from his previous battle and knew that he had to quickly eliminate all of the harpies before they could fly out of range. As they began to fire, he fired back. He chased down 2 low-flying harpies and swatted them down. The last 2 pilots finally realized they needed to ascend to avoid G-Rex's next attack. The Nephilim pounced upon G-Rex to provide cover fire for the harpies. He shook 2 off while the other 2 clung to him tightly. He launched one out of the battle zone with a powerful kick. The impact of G-Rex's foot combined with a rough landing crippled the damaged suit. He snatched another one up in his jaws and crushed it between his teeth before tossing it away. 2 Nephilim and 2 harpies still engaged in the combat. One harpy was low enough to be in range. Without hesitation, G-Rex unleashed a furious blast of fire that consumed the crab. He then pounced forward and somersaulted on the ground. One of the Nephilim that clung to him released its grip and jumped off as he realized what was happening. The other one was crushed beneath the weight of G-Rex's body. One Harpy and one Nephilim remained in the battle. G-Rex glanced up at the Harpy and then at the suit. The Harpy was out of range, so he engaged the suit. As he did, he received 3 plasma blasts to the back. He cried out in pain and looked back at the Harpy. When his back was exposed, the Nephilim suit deployed its laser and fired. G-Rex was in trouble. His enemies coordinated their attacks. The air support posed a greater threat, but the remaining suit had weaponry sufficient to cause serious damage. They concentrated their fire on G-Rex. They continued to batter him as he helplessly stood between the 2 war machines. Despite the predicament, he chose to turn all of his attention toward the battlesuit. With all of his remaining strength, he sprinted forward. The suit did not have time to turn and run, nor would it have mattered. G-Rex snatched it up in his clawed hand and clutched it so that it could not move. He spotted the Harpy in the sky and bit down hard on the battlesuit. Without crushing it entirely, he secured a good grip on the suit. Then G-Rex violently threw his head to the side and hurled the battlesuit in the direction of the Harpy. The pilot was dumbfounded at the sight of the battlesuit soaring in his direction. The Harpy was struck head-on as both the suit and the aircraft collided and fell to the ground with a thunderous explosion. G-Rex watched as the flames lit up the sky. He observed the wreckage as it burned. He waited as though he expected something more to spring up from the heap of ash. The darkness of the night faded away, and the colors of a new day illuminated the horizon. As the sun peeked over the distant boundary between heaven and earth, G-Rex roared in triumph. Although wounded, he walked away from the scene proudly, knowing that the threat of yesterday had been vanquished and that the beginning of a new day, a joyous day, could now be seen.